Dude, why is it a meme that anytime I go live, priced, I just it's giant red candles. I swear you guys probably think I do that. Like I'm swinging weight over here. I'm like a whale. As soon as I go short, I hit the live button and there we go. Dude, and then the other day, what was it, Friday? I couldn't go live, right? Because all the flooding and stuff, like with my family. And we like moonshot. Dude, I think I think there may be something to it. I was sitting here smacking my head. I was downstairs. I was just making a water right before stream. I start getting alerts. It was like Bitcoin below 63,000. And it was like the starting soon thing. It was all that, I hadn't even like really gone live yet. I was like, come on, guys. Come on, guys. What is this? Well, I'm Bear Jack. Come on. Anyway, what's up, everybody? Good to see you. We survived the Texas floods. It was kind of crazy. What up? What's up, Power Plant? And everybody with the resubs and the donos and everything. Big love to you all. What's up? I am Leopard with the Prime. 35 months. Holy crap. Please get Bitcoin to teleport down. I have funds waiting to deploy. I'm working on it, my man. Ed Ted Zed, what's up, man? Thank you for the Prime sub as well. Sticking to the plan. Astro, what's up, my man? Okay, yeah. So let's start things off properly. We confirmed distribution upon falling out of the trade range, right? This was the rational thing to do, was the reasonable thing to do, based on weeks of moving, weeks of price action and the way that price action was moving at the time. Okay, we have rallied from below the horizontal, below support, and we tested it as resistance, and that test failed because it broke up. Resistance was not confirmed. We are now back inside the range. But we're in the range in a very interesting way. So we've not reclaimed key moving averages. I'm giving you the too long didn't read, and I'm going to go all through it in more detail with charts here in a minute. But we've not reclaimed some key moving averages. We've not reclaimed some Ichimoku and Bollinger Band stuff. And then I know I just said Ichimoku, but this is kind of like an independent test for me, is Josh's one-day doubled settings Ichimoku crosses. That's a really good smell test for like, am I reading the room right? Yes or no? Remember, before that gave a bearish signal. So there was a bearish cross implying you should close all your longs. It has not recrossed yet. So we're back in the range, but we haven't done this other stuff. That's the too long didn't read of today's show. We're going to get into it here in a minute. But because of all that, this is off the wall. We're taking it off the wall. Because that is reserved, at least for now. We may change this in the future, but the head on the wall is reserved for confirmed environments. This is a confirmed bullish environment. It's a confirmed bearish environment, that kind of thing. It was a confirmed bearish environment because we made a particular trade range and broke down from it. And then upon retesting it, we are now back in the range. What I would have expected. So the reason we don't have a bull on the wall is because there's a weird smell in the air with this price action. I would have thought if this was really the up only full sin new all-time high move that a lot of people thought it was or think it is, I would have thought we would have just left every bear, every denier in the dust. We would have shot to the range highs, broken out of range. Like I feel like there would have been more to it. Instead, we sit at 63,000. So there's lots of interesting things happening on the charts, lots of stuff to look at. There's plenty to go over. So grab a drink, get yourself some popcorn, sit back, let me dazzle you with some technical analysis. We'll see what happens. Guys, thank you for being here. I smell all the whales. The states are getting dumpy. Yeah, dude, it's going to be very interesting. We all going to make it. Yes, sir, puppet. Okay. I want to talk about two things first and foremost, and then we'll get after it. First things first. There's been a lot of chirping on Twitter, especially at me. There was this crowd that was like, everything is bullish. And then we fell below the trade range and they got really quiet. And then we came back into the trade range and they're like, haha, I told you so. There's a lot of that kind of stuff. And so anytime I say, hey, maybe we should be cautious. Maybe we should just like, wait a second. Let's just see how it plays out. Any of that kind of stuff, I get a lot of flack from this particular crowd. So I want to start off the day by talking about putting yourself in a position of strength. Okay. This is the sermon for this morning, putting yourself in a position of strength. So back when we were identifying this particular trade range, and let me flip it over just so we can get in talking about this. Back when we were talking about this trade range, right, which we still have all doctored up and everything, but I want to just kind of remove all the schematics and this and that. When we were identifying this, and we said, look, this zone is worrisome for reasons X, Y, Z, whatever, it doesn't matter. What the market gave you an opportunity to do was close your positions at this particular level to put yourself in a position of strength. So that's where we are, right? This is, at least that's where I am. And obviously you guys have your own plans. And hopefully you're doing well with whatever your particular plan is at the time. But for me, my plan was to, at all times, put myself in a position of strength, which for this particular environment meant closing positions up at these highs. So this is up here in this range, probably, if I had to move this box, probably about in that box is where all my positions are closed, from alts to Bitcoin to whatever, you name it, across the board. This is where I closed out. Now, why that's really nice and why putting yourself in a position of strength is so important is because you avoid all the chop. You avoid all the mess. So like all of this, I'm basically just watching it in the hammock, and I'm, going about my day, and every now and then I'll check price action and I have some alerts here and there, but it doesn't really matter. It doesn't affect me until the big trade, until either I figure out exactly what's going on, which means like there's an inverted head and shoulder. There's a clear reaccumulation at play. If I can put my hands on it, then I can make a play. If I can't put my hands on it, or I don't have a clue what's going on, then I just wait. And I wait for like the big triggers, an easy big triggers. Like, hey, we break out of this upper level. You basically rebuy where you sold. Now, the argument I get to this from a lot of people is, Karis, what's up, man? 3 years. Love it. Love to see it. The counter argument to selling, to put yourself in a position of strength during like parabolic uptrends is, well, Jack, you forget about taxes. Taxes. We got you there. Taxes. It's like, well, okay, maybe. But to pivot for this conversation of taxes, I want to first tell you a story. It's kind of a joke, but it's a joke, whatever. There once was a guy who got a brand new sports car, and his sports car, it was the fastest thing on the road at the time, 0 to 60 in like 3 seconds, 2.5 seconds, 1,000 horsepower. He was so excited to go out. So he goes out, he drives it on the road. He gets at a stoplight. He looks beside him. There's a guy on a moped. And he's like, I watched this. And he tells himself, I'm going to smoke this moped guy. I'm going to absolutely smoke him. So he gets to the light. He's gunning the engine. The moped guy's just kind of looking at him. And boom, light turns green. He's gone. He's out of there. Straight out of the pit like he's at a NASCAR. He's an F1 guy. He's like, so he slows down. He's on city roads, whatever. He's sitting there thinking, man, I just blew that. That dude's probably thinking, like, man, that dude's so cool. Next thing he knows, he looks in his rearview. Something catches his eye. Moped guy just goes whizzing by him. And he's like, what? Not today. He floors it again. Woo! Now he just gains on that moped. He's like, I don't know what that moped's got under the hood, but I'm going to make him regret what he just did or whatever. So he sends it. He's going like 65, 70 miles an hour on these city streets. He slows back down. He's like, okay, that dude's got to be long gone. Next thing he knows, there comes the moped. Once again, third time, he's like, screw it, I'm out of here. He floors it. He does 100 miles an hour. He's like, there's no way that guy can, as soon as that, he couldn't even finish the thought. Whoa, moped comes by, and then he comes up to a stoplight, and they both kind of come to a stop. He rolls down his window, and he goes, dude, what is going on with this moped? And the moped guy says, man, thank you so much for stopping. My suspender strap's been stuck in your side view mirror for the last 2 miles. So, moral of the story, it had nothing to do with like the moped itself, right? There was more going on than meets the eye. and he was being slingshotted around by his suspender strap. So here's why I'm talking about this. This is why I share the dad joke. It's because whenever you're talking about putting yourself in a position of strength, but you're worried about like tax positions of 30% or whatever, people tend to forget that a good trader is looking for other opportunities outside of just Bitcoin. There's a whole secondary, tertiary, there's a whole slew of things that are loosely correlated to Bitcoin, and they rubber band around Bitcoin. If Bitcoin's going up, it goes up 2 or 3 times faster. Bitcoin's going down, it goes down 2 or 3 times faster. One of the easiest examples, the things that most people are keeping their eye on, is MicroStrategy. MicroStrategy was absolutely full sending it when Bitcoin was in the bull, and then pulled back almost 50%. Anybody who's like, oh yeah, well, Jack Bull, you forgot your 20% tax loss. Okay, MicroStrategy fell 50%. Now, if my goal was simply to make up a taxable event, which when I closed all my MicroStrategy stuff, that was a roughly 20% tax, or whatever it is, long-term capital gain moment. If all I was worried about was like making up for that and then some, okay, well, I made up for it and then got an extra 30% just from putting myself in a position of strength, or at least looking for opportunities to put myself in a position of strength on the Bitcoin side specifically. But it's not just that, like that goes across the board. Even your favorite meme stock for whatever it was, some of those things fell 70%. This is bonk. We can go down the list. Doge, Floki, whatever. Now they've all rallied really nicely. But my punchline is, if you are like, you're the guy who doesn't make a move because you're worried about tax stuff, maybe the opportunity that's available for you is not just within Bitcoin, it's on the other correlated stuff. It's on the altcoin, it's on the traditional market stuff, it's on the mining stocks, whatever, take your pick. But I still think the real generational wealth is made in understanding these big macro flows, these big potential outcomes, and not even talking about, should this play out and Bitcoin comes down to this particular, whatever, like Bitcoin comes down to a level. That's not even what I'm talking about. I'm just saying, if all you focus on is, hey, price looks like it could range, it could give you some opportunities, especially during these frothy bull markets, to make an extra 30 to 50% on whatever your position is, on your favorite altcoin, or you this or you that. And that is not something that any of the altcoin maxi chirping reply guys on Twitter, they're never going to think like that. All they know how to think is like a poor person thinks. They have a loser's mentality, which is, I am all in this thing. I will cheerlead it from the sidelines, and I will hope that it goes to the place that I think it will. You see this particular mindset in a lot of different arenas. Okay, I've noticed this time and time again. I see it not just with altcoins. I see it in the NFT community. I see it in the meme coin community. I see it all across the board. There's zero intention of like trying to actively trade it properly, or like read the tea leaves, or like, hey, this could be macro extended. There's no interest in that. It's all like, I need to quit my job, and so this has got to work out the way I want to. And like I say time and time again, the market does not care about any of that. The market will eat you alive like a tiger in the jungle, and as it disembowels you and you die in your own puddle of blood, that's how the market feels about you, and whatever your feelings are for getting out of your day job or whatever. It doesn't matter. So I still maintain that one of the strongest plans is to try to keep abreast of what is happening in the Bitcoin market, and then use that to your advantage, whether that is through altcoins or the traditional market or whatever. Okay, end of sermon. Questions, and then we will get into the actual market TA stuff. We will get here on the TA stuff. Just got here. Is Jack still bearish? Good question. Good question. We haven't gotten into it too much. Is it worth shorting right now? I wouldn't. I mean, it could be. It could be. But again, I don't know, man. I feel like the time to short was up in the 70s. It's I would put it this way. While I don't think it's smart, like we're a month since halving, right? Or a few weeks since halving. Anytime you're like to the right side of halving, and you can measure it in days or weeks, I really feel like shorting's out the window. Like, you really shouldn't be shorting to begin with. That being said, if you're just dead set on shorting, now is a better time to look for a short opportunity than at, like, say 56, right? Like, it's, we're 10% higher or whatever the math, at 15% higher. Doesn't mean it's a smart time to short. So I don't know. For me, shorting's out the window. I have no interest in shorting right here. I did do some cheeky shorts when we broke down from the massive, like, rising wedge up in the 70s, and, like, on high margin, that kind of stuff, just playing with alts. It did really well, right? That's how we funded the giveaway. We gave away like $1,000 basically on our halving stream. And it's not like I have a sponsor that pays for that, right? That's out of my pocket. And that's how I do that stuff, is through successful trades. So anyway, brings us up to where we are. So the best time short was 5 hours ago. Man, I don't know about that. Any questions? If not, we're gonna go for it. We're gonna get to the chart. We're gonna talk about what's going on. For the latecomers, you may notice there's nothing on the wall right there. Once again, we will discuss why that is. Lots of people in chat giving me their price. Guys, now that we're back in the range, I think now's a really good time. Let's do a poll, because this is not something I'm going to, like, bait you with an answer. I really want your thought. There are strong arguments both sides. So here's a poll I'm setting up. What do you think Bitcoin does in the next 30 days? I'm going to say moves up 20%, moves down 20%, up 40%, down 40%. So here's the poll. Poll will be live just for a minute. I'm curious. Let's just see what you guys think. Do me a favor and vote. I'm not even going to vote on it. I don't know. I'm already seeing a bunch of stuff coming in. It's kind of across the board right now. My vote is not listed. Sideways? Is sideways your vote? I'm just guessing. A lot of people think down. It could be specific to my stream, right? Because we've been talking about. Yeah, that's fine. Just don't vote if you're betting on sideways. It's fine. All right, vote's almost done. So almost 2-1. Most people are betting on down. But there's a big amount of people betting up too. I mean, it's not. Yeah, okay, so 22 votes down, 13 votes up, 20%. So we can at least say, okay, well, bookends 20% up or 20% down. That kind of covers the majority bets. All right, let's look at the chart. Okay, so as I gave for the early attendees, I gave kind of the too long didn't read of what I'm going to talk about today. So for you guys who got here late after the tardy bell, shame on you. Number one. No, I'm just kidding. Number two, this was the expectation upon a break. So distribution, confirming distribution does this. It does this. It always does this. There's like no way around it. So there's really, once we come back into the range, I can't get really hot and bothered and super bearish and all that kind of stuff. I have to kind of say either distribution just hasn't played out yet, which is kind of like, it's becoming increasingly unlikely, right? Like, let's be honest. Or number two, so it's either just not happened yet or it's not going to happen. These are the only two options. Because both of those options are a little bit dicey, and because we close back in the range, bear mask is off the wall. Bear mask is reserved for when we are in a confirmed bearish environment. We are not in a confirmed bearish environment. Now, we're not in a confirmed bullish environment either, and this is going to be kind of a focus on what we talk about today as well. So we're in this no man's land. We're in the chop. We're in the churn, right? That's what sucks about being right here. So at this point, there's a lot of people turning their heads. They're like, oh, okay, well, are we just channel bound? And then eventually it's going to do that. Are we setting up for like a really nice inverted head and shoulders, and we just haven't seen it all play out yet? Like that's kind of even like a bearish to bullish setup. Is this thing going to be like it's going to go parabolic to the downside, and then this is really going to be distribution, just really a tricky version of distribution? I don't know, right? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. All I know is that there are key levels in the market, and we have to wait and see what happens when they come. Now, some reasons to pay attention to whenever we close below these key lines, whenever we're like potentially in a distributionary environment, which is what happened down in here. If you come back into the range, there's two scenarios that I've seen multiple times, which are really positive. They're really bullish for the price action. Number one is there's a massive sell-off as we break down. So like, I'm going to turn volume on in a minute, but imagine like if I turned on volume, we saw it was like for all kind of this part, the volume is just like tick, 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 it's relatively the same, maybe some swells here and there. And then as it comes down in here, especially like on this big red candle, you'd expect like a god candle of sellers. This was like the most scared anybody's been in forever. And then as we rally back, you would expect like this candle right here to be an even bigger group. Like, haha, you thought, and the white knights step in, and next thing you know, we're good to go. So I'm going to turn on the volume, and you'll see that's kind of not really what happened. In fact, if we compare it to the rest of the range, this sell volume, it wasn't the biggest we've seen, but it wasn't the smallest either. It was just average. When you go back and you compare to what the sellers have looked like throughout the entire range, it was just kind of run of the mill. It was just what you would expect through here. So that doesn't really give me an edge. We're looking for an edge on the trade. I have no edge with how to read this breakdown and then the rally back. Now, also this rally back, we had these buy volume, these buyers step in, and that was pretty good, right? By comparison, it's better than it has been. It's not the craziest thing we've ever seen. If I go to the 1 hour and we kind of like look at it a little more nuanced, I mean, this is really nothing to write home about. These green candles, especially in the face of what's been going on through the rest of the range. I don't know. It doesn't strike me as like, oh, the tides are turning. You better buckle up. You're not going to make it if you don't buy in right now. Like these are not the vibes I'm getting. This was interesting. This was starting to get really interesting. Again, by comparison, it was nothing really all that substantial. Going back in time, it was kind of like more of the same. But ever since then, it's just been, I don't know. I just kind of shrug at it. This entire area was very strange, and it continues to be very strange. So this is why I think the next point for the market to decide what's going to happen is a visit back into this level. I think we can justify that with a number of other things, which we'll go over here shortly. But I think a visit to the 61, between 59 and 60, I think that is a sort of market test that everybody needs to see, rather than just expecting it to like up only forever, which I guess the market could do. But we've had, like just this morning, we have this horizontal level that the market is showing you like, hey, this level is really important. You better pay attention. This level is really important. Swing failure. Swing failure whilst breaking an uptrend, while breaking a ascending triangle. This breakout, haha, you thought? So there's a lot of interesting things. And now you have a head and shoulders, and the price target of that head and shoulders is down here. So there's all kinds of stuff that I think is at play here that makes me think we're coming back down here for a test. And that, I think, is going to be so interesting. Because again, if we zoom out and we look at what this range really is, if we find ourselves back down here, that's not bad if the market can hold. But if it doesn't hold, you have this series of low, higher low, lower low, high. I'm saying that wrong. You have a low, a high, a lower low, a lower high. Are we going to make our first higher low? Could that be the startup of a inverted head and shoulders? Is this going to lead to maybe our first true downtrend break, which we haven't really had yet? Just like like a little 45-degree diagonal or whatever. We started to have that this morning. It got debated out. Did not happen. Lots of things that are coming up that are going to be very, very interesting. While all this is happening, I have to show this because I think it's one of the most interesting things going on right now. So I'm going to flip it back to 4 hour and show you gold. So gold is also doing a bullish breakout thing, right? It had a few months of consolidation, breakout. To this morning it had a breakout. I put out a tweet just to try to show everybody, like, in the moment, to potentially give you an opportunity to wait for a pullback and buy, or just go ahead and jump in or whatever. But I do think that a trend this strong, consolidating in this way and then breaking out, I don't think that's something to fade. I think that's the real deal. Who knows, right? I mean, time will tell. But I think this is a very interesting thing to see at this time. And then again, Bitcoin doing the thing here. This is Friday to Monday price action. Monday morning starts and it wicks up and breaks back down. I think by Wednesday or so, probably by the Wednesday stream, we'll be over here. I think what's very interesting about that, I'm show you this chart real quick. If we look at the 4 hour cloud, and these are on Josh's doubled settings, just FYI, I had several people message me asking what this is, 2061, 2030. But what I think is very interesting about the 4 hour cloud is this. Whenever the cloud has this bullish cross, which is when the fast moving average crosses the slow, price tends to, let's look at the last time this happened. So don't even worry about this yet. Let's look at what happened before, because markets like to kind of copy themselves or repeat themselves, because apparently they work. Maybe they trick retail, maybe they trick other algorithms. I don't know. But what happened before was, like, right as we got a bullish cross, that was basically the top. But if we zoom in on it more, it wasn't just the top. It was a level before the top. And then there was a few candles later, about a day later, there was a big sell-off down to the bottom of the cloud. And then later there was a sort of bearish cross. So anyway, it's going to be very interesting to see, because after that played out that way, remember, this is the cross and this was, effectively the top. Here's our cross here, which puts it right there. A short while later, there was an up thrust, and now we find ourselves back in the cloud. Cloud levels is down here as well. The point, or the area that I was saying I think would be very interesting for a market test, to either give us some sort of inverted head and shoulders, or a channel that eventually breaks out, or whatever. Like, you pick your style of looking at it. But I think this kind of stuff would be very interesting if we once again find ourselves moving to the bottom-ish of the cloud, even if we later consolidate and go on to make new highs or whatever, like new local highs. So this is kind of what I'm watching. Again, I'm not dead set in being like, no, you're all fools, this is absolutely distribution. That's not what it is. It still could be, but this is not a hill I can die on anymore because of this. This has changed the entire look of what this is. There are very tricky versions of distribution, which we have a much lower. Remember, this is all an odds game. This is like a live sporting event where the odds of the winning team and the losing team are continually changing. And the odds just shifted away from the bears with this singular move, with a 3-day price action move, with this rally off the lows. This took a lot of wind out of the sails of any sort of bearish setups. And then you can go on and drive the nail and kill any kind of bearish setup with something like this. Something like this, I probably would put the bull on the wall, right? If we get this inverted head and shoulders coupled with a downtrend break or whatever, like even right there, that probably gets me buying back in, like across the board. This does not. This in a bubble, that's hopium. That's like, nice try. That looks like debate. That's almost like when exchanges are they're like deploying their reserves, trying to get you to buy the chop or blow out any early positions, any margin positions, which they will do. to all our new folks, in case you didn't know, in many of the exchange, what do they call them? The terms and conditions, it says the exchange will trade against you. And you're like, yeah, I approve, whatever. Let me trade my meme coin, bro. And they're like, yes, send us your money, yes. Completely unrelated. Shout out to Coinbase for having me as a Coinbase ambassador. Sell and man go away. Yeah, could be as well. So we're at the point where more information on the Coinbase ambassadorship stuff below, by the way. But we're at the point where this is the most interesting the price action has been, because there's finally, like, it's like the storm clouds look like they're starting to clear, and you don't know if you're just in the eye of the storm and you're only like halfway to where it's actually headed, or if the storm clouds are actually going to clear and we're going to get something really cool. But in any case, whatever it looks like, I think we're gonna find out, both after a retest down here and with lots of other metrics firing simultaneously. Something else to keep in mind, the Bollinger Bands are worth looking at on the daily. This has all been very interesting to watch. Right now, price is on the Bollinger Band midline. It could not hold this the last time. It could not hold this a few weeks ago. That's what I was going to say. And the last time it did that, it went on to make a new low. So we're at sort of that same level where, like, could a new low be in store for us? If that's the case, do we then get a market test up and then, like, the real distribution, the real move comes, just because it's so debatey? Again, and I guess I'm remiss for saying this because I haven't really said this much. I'm not necessarily convinced this is a cycle top per se. I'm not to that point yet. I can't really say that with confidence. If distribution does go on to confirm, which is not yet, but if that does play out, then there's always a chance we're at a cycle top. But when I say chance, I mean like a 5% chance. This is not something I'm betting on. I still think the cyclical nature of Bitcoin, the fact that the last several halvings, about 300 to 400 days later, or whatever the number is, like, that's when the Pico tops have been. I still think that's going to be in play, and I'm still looking for that moment. But all I'm trying to do with this little magnifying glass moment here is grow my Bitcoin stack for potentially the next leg up. And if we come down to the 50s or the 30s or wherever the bottom ends up being, that's a great opportunity to almost double your stack size before the next move up. Or, because we're in a position of strength, because we chose to sell at a particular level, our alts or traditional market stuff or whatever, or we just buy back in at some point and we either take a 15% gain, if it comes down to the lows, or from where it is right now, a 10% growth to our stack. Actually, it's more than that, right? It was a 10% drop. But if it goes back, if you bought in at the lows and then it goes back to kind of the point we sold, it'd be about a 15-16% move. Stuff like MicroStrategy, obviously, it's still down like 35-40% from its highs. So lots of opportunities. There's no shortage of opportunities here. I don't see like the obvious bullish continuation setups like I saw back in here. This was a whole different thing, where you're in this channel and you're bouncing around and you're running the highs and lows. You're spending lots of time at the lows, and here it's very different. It is, in my eyes, this is not the same. Something that, like I said at the beginning of stream, that I like to use as sort of a smell test for my own perception, for my own TA, for my own readings, is Josh's daily Ichimoku. This fired off. You remember back in here was where I was like, hey, we should probably pay attention to this going on to turn into like some sort of range or something. And then that broke down. And then subsequent to that, there was this rising wedge. And then that's also when you're like, hey, you know what? Wyckoff says we need to be really careful here. And then very shortly after, we get this. And if you're unfamiliar with this is one of the strongest and most reliable macro indicators. And what's great about it is it will fire off occasionally and then reverse and be like, hey, you know what? My bad. The whole trend continues. And you know, like when this fired off, you could rebuy at 48, goes on to 70 something. So it's not like you miss the meat of the move by fire, you know, closing and then opening back again. I think back tested, when you back test this on bull markets, this is really, really useful. The moment before that, you would actually close, open, close again a little bit higher, so it's a little bit of a gain, and then close, and then you'd actually open much lower. You would have opened at 27, closed at 43, reopened at 48, and then closed at 63. So these are all good, profitable, spot only macro moves. Like, these are not bad. So this could absolutely do something like this. They recross, we get the big check mark, you know, as far as this indicator goes, that things are looking bullish again and good times are ahead. That absolutely could be in store. Or it's not, right? And it comes on and it continues to bleed out, as other bullish trends have done. This thing will occasionally fire late, but sometimes it gives you a really nice exit opportunities, like the first top, which I think if we're comparing apples to apples with market cycles, remember this was the 2021 market cycle where price went from like 10K to 60K really fast. It did this entire leg up. I really like how this indicator performed, because back here it told you to long at 11 and told you to close at 58 or 57, 58 with no hiccups in between those two data points. And I really think that if the future market top is in front of us, like, you know, 6 months, a year, whatever, wherever the top ends up being from now, based on like how things have performed historically, I think this would be a really nice opportunity for the market to cool off, have a bit of consolidation, and then go on to make a new high in our current future. And if that's the case, perhaps this signal firing off today is much like this signal firing off back then, which allowed you to get out at 56, and then it gave you the go long again signal at like 35. It's basically almost a 50% drop between when it said to sell and when to buy back. So I'm not shilling some indicator. This is not some paid indicator. It's just the Ichimoku cloud on doubled settings. But it's been really, in hindsight, on high time frame, it's pretty deadly. So when that's firing off, and then there's worries about Wyckoff stuff like distribution, which is my bread and butter. That's my favorite thing to look at. When those two things are at the same time, but yet separately firing off warning signals, like signal flares, I think that's the time to pay attention and take care of things. All right, looking at chat. Weekly MACD has crossed bearish. Have a look at that. Okay, we'll check that out. I think you're telling me is that Bitcoin might go up and also might go down. Well, I mean, I let off with like, if you ask me, there are moments where you have a really high odds trade. This was a high odds trade to exit. This was probably a good, you know, long buy. Let me go to like lower time frame. You know, if you wanted to punt along for like a 10% gain or something, sure, I get it. This was dicey. I don't think you had a trade down here, because there's a whole slew of people saying, oh, it's reaccumulation, you know, buy the dip. And then there's a lot of worrying stuff like on the Wyckoff distribution side, like, I don't know, maybe not, maybe it's not. And now you're kind of in no man's land. So I think this last whole bit has just been very, you know, lots of question mark. For example, are you buying a downtrend break? Is that what this is? Or are you really just in a broader channel? Wait, where are we? Is this really just something I don't know. I'm tired of fiddling with it, but you get the idea. Are you really just in some sort of channel? Has the channel broken out? Is it something more like this? Is this really what we're doing? We don't know. We don't have enough data. There's not enough data yet. That's why I think the data that is the most important to us next is what happens down here. That's why I feel like we're going to get a market test at some point, like in the next few days. a market test of this like 60 sub 62 level. I think that is what you're either going to see the bulls step in and be like, yup, see ya. Or the bears step in and be like, sorry, thanks for buying me. Thanks for cashing me out. What's your views on electricity cost of mining and stuff around it? I don't really factor that in, to be honest. Like, I know electricity cost goes up and down. I don't know. I'm not really gonna say I feel super strong about it. This guy has good analysis. Well, thanks, dude. New viewer guy. Should we wait for a daily candle close for this perspective? Well, I think you wrote that back when I was talking about the Ichimoku cross stuff. And yeah, I think yes, because it can change in the middle of the day. That daily cloud has been savage. Yeah, dude, it's awesome. It backtests really, really well. Also, I think Bitcoin won't break down without the Dixie breaking out. Can you look at Dixie to see if there are some clues? Sure. That's more like Bitcoin Schmitcoin's bread and butter, right? That's his forte. But sure, we'll take a look at that. This was me just playing around with stuff. I think the Dixie is best viewed in horizontals. Again, I don't see a strong trend that I'm like, I feel super confident about. I don't know, man. I'm not like a Dixie master, you know what I mean? It's hard for me to feel confident about that. I mean, this looks like a rising wedge that broke out and then came back. And so if in that context and just pure TA, you know, forget what the thing is, forget it's Dixie or gold or Tesla or whatever, but just whenever you have this rising wedge break out and then come back, you tend to see it run back to the lows. And that historically would be very good for Bitcoin. Like that could be another leg up, right? So the Dixie down, it historically is good for Bitcoin, but it's a very volatile. It's very choppy, and it's not one-to-one. It's not as simple as like, oh, Dixie's up today, I'm going to sell Bitcoin. Oh, Dixie's down, I'm going to buy Bitcoin. You can't. It's not that simple. You got to have like a macro trend. Really, the trends are what are good. You know what? Look, I'll show you. You'll see very quickly like why this is pretty tricky to line up. So let me do interval and time. Hello? That's on 4 hour. Okay, they're both on 4 hour. Oh, I see what's happening. Okay. I see what's happening. Let's just focus on that then. Dude, this is killing me. I'm going to take it off interval time. Okay. So this is Bitcoin's. This is Bitcoin breaking out from that 25, what was it, 30 to 25 consolidation range. So Bitcoin's on the bottom. Consolidate, consolidate, consolidate. Meanwhile, Dixie's moonshotting, right? Dixie's just going. Pfft. But consolidate, consolidate, consolidate. And as Dixie rolls over, Bitcoin breaks out and goes from 30 to 48. Dixie pulls back a bit. Bitcoin pulls back and goes up. So these two things happen. These two marks are like at the exact same time. See how my mouse cursor stays on the two? So that's tricky. Dixie pulls back. Bitcoin moonshots. But like moonshots. So this little pullback was more rewarding for Bitcoin than this pullback. Because this much more aggressive Dixie pullback only resulted in that. It was like, but it started at 33 and it went to 43. It was like a 10K move. This went from 50 to 70. It was a 20K move on much less. So I see all this kind of stuff and I'm like, man, what am I supposed to do with it? I don't know. I don't know what to make of all this stuff. So I don't really like using the Dixie just personally. I think it's much more rewarding to stay focused on specific Bitcoin trends. That's just me. I think Bitcoin Schmitcoin feels probably the polar opposite. I think he enjoys only focusing on what the Dixie's doing, and then he makes some trades based off of that, and he's done really well. Slumble, yeah, I just showed it. Can you show Ichimoku doubled settings? Yep, showed it. You're gonna play Devil's Advocate. Karis, what's up, man? How is that distribution confirmed? Spending a couple days below the range, failing to go down, coming back into the range, and closing again, several candles inside. How's that price action? Not extremely bullish. Is volume more important than price action here? So I went over this a little bit, but it's the right question to ask. Let's start off with that. That with like, and it's gonna feel like I'm trying to be like, well, it still could be distribution just because it's streamer guy just wants to say he was right kind of thing. It's not what I'm getting at. What we saw was a break below the range, very bearish, followed by a break back into the range, hella bullish, like one of the most bullish things you can possibly see, followed by nothing. Why is this not continued? Why did this not full send it to the upper range? Like if we look back at the last reaccumulation range, look at how that played out. So reaccumulation range, let me actually like make a proper channel here. Okay. Here was the last proper reaccumulation range that we had. This is from 25 to 30K. When price broke down below the range and then came back, consolidated a bit and moonshot. Consolidated a bit and moonshot. We're not seeing the same thing. This is not the same sort of price action. This is what you would expect to see in a super hyper bullish, exciting environment. This is what you would expect to see because the whole concept is just like anyone who sold during this parabolic downtrend is offsides. They're on the wrong side of the trade at this point, and now you're leaving them in the dust. If we kind of look at where we are today, it's different because we've tried to break out and it's failed. We tried to break up and now we're coming back down. Simultaneously, we didn't get above certain levels. We got up to, some moving averages. We didn't reclaim them. We're not like sitting on the top. So this is why I say like, it's very confusing right here because this had every opportunity to moonshot, even if it got back up to the highs and consolidated up there. That's great. Sure, go for it. But it didn't. Here we are. We're below the midline. We're sitting right here. There's still this sort of like macro creek sending its way down. This is not a creek jump. You can't say this is a creek jump. It was not aggressive enough. The other move we were showing was absolutely a creek jump. This kind of thing. You see how it like left everybody in the dust? Poof. That's what you would expect. So in the Wyckoff terms, a jump of the creek is a sign of a change of the winds, right? Like a new direction. And we haven't had that. So there's a number of things that say, yeah, it's great that we're back in the range. I don't think that's enough yet. With everything that's right behind it, with this sort of big downtrend, the volume profile doesn't really match. It doesn't give me an edge. Let me say that. There's no edge to be had with this particular volume profile. Again, we go back and we look at this last example, and we focus on like, let me kind of look at it like this. As we came down to the lows, big group of sells, big swell and buyers, like the sellers and buyers. This is like King Kong and Godzilla. They're slugging it out. The biggest guys in the room are going for it. They're just going to town. And then as we break up, big swell and volume as well. Again, we compare that to where we are today, and it's nothing. This buyers and sellers. It's apathy. It's nothing. Nobody cares. Everyone's like they're off fishing or something. So this is very strange to see. I would have expected, like kind of like what you were insinuating with your devil's advocate scenario, which I don't think is devil's advocate. I think it's a rational analysis. Why isn't this just like the most bullish thing you've ever seen? Because nobody's treating it as such. Where are the buyers? Why are we just drifting? Why are we just sideways after coming back into the range? That's why I think maybe what's setting up is some sort of like come back and run the stops of everyone who just like giga 100x longed right there. Maybe that's all that needs to happen. Flush those guys out and then we do it. And then at the same time, we're getting these kind of like macro inverted head and shoulders. There's just more going on. Like perhaps that's what the market is waiting for. That's my like bullish argument for what's happening. But the bearish argument is this is just another pause, just like that was another pause, and it's going to come down and make a new low. And at that point, I don't really know what to make of it. It's not crystal clear distribution like I would have thought. So I think there may come a time when we have to say this, perhaps what this whole thing is more than just distribution. Maybe than just distribution, which sounds like really goofy. Maybe this is some sort of channel, and this thing is just going to play in the channel for the next 6 months or something. So we got to be open to all these examples. I'm not going to die on it's distribution because I say it's distribution. This is not some ego trip. It's just I fought hard to say this was distribution because the charts gave clues that it was distribution. Not just because I said it and like my words carry weight. I don't know, none of you should care what I think. That's why we battle test these ideas 3 times a week. And if you think I'm a moron, then do your own thing. That's fine. But I think my approach has always been, I'm trying to find the logical conclusion of what the market activity is. And so far, that has been distribution. But given more data, that could change. And if it does, I mean, I'll be the first to tell you. It's not come hell or high water, it has to be distribution. It's not. But we've marked this up and we're going to keep it here. We're going to see how things pan out. Now, notice how this LPSY, this is an infamous thing that happens. It doesn't always gig ascend, right? This consolidation could be part of whatever this is, right? It consolidates a bit more and then finally it gives it all up. That's why like we're not writing distribution off just yet, because this break of market structure low coming back above it into the range, but then going back below it again. Like we don't know if that's what's in store. If we get another lower low after this, so we have our high, we have our low, our high, our lower low, higher, our lower high. If we get another lower low, I mean, that really is just doing this. So we got to wait and see. We got to wait and see. This is not, I am completely content having sold in the upper band just to wait and see how things pan out. I am not sweating it. And if I rebuy to the dollar or even 5% lower, if I have to chase because I wake up and price is doing that and now I'm like buying up here, I don't care. I promise you, I will be fine. I will sleep at night. And nobody went broke from taking profit. Okay. All right. I think I've said my piece. Thank you for the follows. What's up, guys? What's up, all you new follower types? Hello. Hello, everybody. I think Bitcoin did the same thing when it went from 50 to 38K and then went 38 to 40. Yeah, exactly, Tybert. That's what I'm saying. Like, even if price does go down, we're not saying it's game over and GG and see you in 4 years or whatever. Like, even as low as 30 is still fine. You know, within the context of we've done it before. But woo! I'll tell you what, there's a lot of loud permabulls that would not be ready for something like that. That's fair with same logic. Why didn't it send it down when it could have? Well, this is still the whole concept of a bearish drop is, remember the bouncing ball like we talked about? I put out that tweet about Bruce Frazier talking about the bouncing ball, where at each level there are a certain amount of buyers waiting. And so you hit those pools of buyers and then they'll buy in and it FOMOs in another group. And eventually like those two groups run out of steam and they sell or they close or whatever. And then you go on and you have to find the next pool of buyers. And it does this whole thing until eventually there's panic or capitulation or whatever. I still think when I look at a chart like this, when I just kind of eyeball a chart like this, I got to think this level gets tested. Even if that's as bad as it gets, I've got to think these guys get completely blown out at some point. And maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe I'll eat those words in the future. These guys, it just looks so tempting, right? If I'm a market maker and I'm eyeballing this chart and I think, look how many people are FOMO'd into this whole leg up. This was like, you could 100x the entire, like anybody, now I don't know the actual margin, but you could 20x probably anywhere along this and still be up, like still be paid. So just because markets offer no free lunches, I've got to see something like that and think, all right, someone's going to get absolutely crushed here. It's probably those guys in the middle. This is a 61% pullback of this entire move. That makes a lot of sense to me, that at some point we come down to this like 49.4. And maybe that's as bad as it gets. Maybe that's like the Pico bottom or whatever, but we'll see. Hope that answered your question. Uh, bu- 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 bu. Jack, is one of your possible outcomes sideways chop for a couple months? Yeah, sure. Absolutely. And sideways chop would count as a market test here, back to the highs, and then back, like something like this, which again was literally what we did. People tend to forget this 25 to 30K range was, if we measure that in time, so from that breakout right there, it's 224 days. That's a long time. What was that, 7 months? 8 months? 7 months and change of back and forth and back and forth. So Karis, when you're talking about like Jack, you always talk about you have a trade range and price ping pongs around, it comes down and then comes back. The obvious trade is a visit to the highs. Something like this inverted head and shoulders that I'm talking about, something like this would make a lot of like that checks that box. You understand what I mean? We break back into the range, we come back, we retest off the lower bounds, and then we send it to the others. Just like if this was inverted, if we did something like this, it wouldn't just, I wouldn't expect just a quick move down. I would still expect something like that. There are times when there's a quick move from one side to the other, but when there's a sort of hesitation, I would absolutely expect something like that. And it would still be that same kind of trade. I'm just on the heels of this, on the heels of that, I'm much less ready. On the heels of these lower lows, I don't trust it. I would trust it much more with something like that. I won't trust it at this exact dollar amount right here as we sit. Is there a situation where the price is 71K but you are not back in? If it happens quick, I'll be the first to tell you guys, because I keep it a buck with everybody. I cannot trade up only. I don't know how to trade it. I never have. If I'm sidelined and we get a breakout like this and I wake up and we're like right there, I don't know how to trade that. I know how to trade ranges. I know how to trade patterns. I know how to, see a rising wedge, that has a blow off top, an SFP nested in it. This is where I got lots of good shorts in here. I know how to do all that. I don't know how to take advantage of up only, because I don't know, and I'm not smart enough to know when you get this or when you get this and you get completely blown out. So that would be my answer. We wake up and we're at 71K. How are you not in? Because if it just turbo sends it in 4 daily candles or 2 daily candles or something, I don't know how to trade that. I don't understand that. That doesn't, I don't have, part of my brain short circuits and fizzles out, right? I see a setup on the lower time frame. We're on the 1 hour right now, by the way. I see something like this and I'm like, oh, okay, the start of potentially a head and shoulders. That's interesting. This has a price target of, let's measure this. What is that? $2,500. $2,500 to the downside is, it's like 60K. So should this play out, and again, I don't know if it will or won't, but if this plays out, that would take us to 60K before the next thing. That lines up with our more macro analysis stuff we were talking about revisiting down here. That also lines up with the 4-hour cloud stuff that we talked about earlier. That would, it was very interesting that this thing happened before, that the fastest slow moving average crossed in a bullish way. That marked kind of the top. Next thing we know, we're at the bottom of the cloud. Bullish cross, marked the top. Bottom of the cloud, it's down here at 61. I don't know, like that makes a lot of sense to me. I know how to trade that. I know to look for things. I know to like, have a checklist and like, okay, these things happen. I don't know how to trade. That just, like I said, I short circuit. I don't know what I'm doing there. Honestly, love that people are still bearish after returning to the range. Gives me more confidence that we can. Well, then long it. Counter trade me. Do it. I mean, there's a long list of people doing it out there. Go for it. It's not like people are acting like I have this bias. I don't have a bias. I don't care. I I am sharing my positions because like I go in, I go out. I go in, I go out. But it doesn't affect the analysis side of things. That there's strange things afoot right here, and the more macro things have not lined up. Um, but it could be it could be a start. Maybe we're headed that way. But go for it. Again, this is all about you coming up with a plan. This is not like stick to Jack's plan. This is you building a plan and you sticking to it. I'm not your trade manager. What do you think about the monthly? Let's look at weekly actually. Somebody was mentioned something about MACD earlier. I said I would look at it. What did they say? Something about like the weekly MACD. So here's the last several years of price action. Let's see. The last bearish environment was actually during. That's funny. So the last two times we had this kind of like bear MACD, these red candle MACDs, was during reaccumulation. It's kind of interesting, right? I think it's interesting. 6 days left on the monthly candle, so time will tell. That cross, the last time we had a cross similarly, right? So an environment of lots of green, with a cross was again in this reaccumulation range. Interesting. But the last time the MACD was this high was literally at our cycle top, where there was also Wyckoff distribution, just like we have potentially here. Now I say potentially because we haven't actually like broken down and out yet. So it's still potential. It's not confirmed. I thought it was confirmed, but it ain't anymore. But that is interesting. It's worth looking at. Wait, hello? Why are you like that? Monthly RSI. It's the same, similar thing. It's gonna read the same or very close to the same as the MACD. All these momentum indicators are gonna do stuff like that. I don't use this to trade, right? So this is not like, oh, Jack's bearish because the MACD and the momentum stuff. I might use that to like just be another checkbox on for the bulls or bears or whatever, just as like more things for them to lean on or use. But I don't read heavily into stuff like this. I really don't. When you buy or sell or long or short or whatever. Because I don't know that it's actionable. Like this Pico top for like, let's focus on this moment right here, which was this. Nope, that, which was that. On the, now we're on RSI, right? Still RSI? Yeah. And the RSI, I don't know if I had Stoch or regular. So that was a much lower RSI. So there's a high, a lower high, a lower high. There's like 4 lower highs before the actual market sell-off, and then the Pico top of the market at that time, right? Forget like all this stuff. I'm just saying in a bubble, like right here. At that time, the market high, like the price high, was like the 3rd lower high down on RSI. So I don't put a lot into these really high time frame momentum indicator. I think it'll lead you to do maybe the wrong thing. This is weekly. Let's look at monthly RSI. I must have I must have had weekly pulled out before. Let's look at monthly MACD. Because I think that's what somebody wanted me to look at. No, no, I must have been weekly. Monthly candle. Last month closed is it a bearish engulfing? Yeah. Last month closed as a bearish engulfing. Interesting. I didn't even realize that. Huh. So this can be what tops look like in a bubble. That could signify your Pico top of a particular trend, of like that trend. I don't know that Bitcoin specifically has a great example to go back and point to. This was also distribution. It fell, it consolidated, it fell again, right? But that's like a full-on bear market. I don't feel like that's where we're headed. I feel like we're too early in the market cycle. But for the particular trend to be over, absolutely. I think that's perfectly within reason and on the table. And could fall back to some level. Whatever that level may be is probably yet to be determined. But I think this could absolutely be what a top looks like. You have a series of green candles, big explosive green candles, and then at some point you have a red candle that goes above, so it opens and then closes below the month prior to it. So the implication is that would continue. If you're just like a candlestick trader kind of guy. Yeah, I don't trade this kind of stuff specifically. I'm not a big like candlestick pattern trader. If you look on the weekly, that's a great start, right? This could be a local bottom. Absolutely. Which is right in line with what we were talking about. I think on the more lower time frame, you would agree you probably need something more like this. There's definitely a sort of downtrend that needs to be broken. These are all things that still have yet to occur. That should they occur, they give lots of confidence in like a new thing. But we haven't seen it quite yet. This is a great start though. I like this doji to the downside. Something like this. If you want to like engagement farm, clout farm, or whatever. No, it's not really even clout, but like engagement farm. Do this, and then this. And then like lots of rockets and fire emojis. And there you go. You're viral. Done. Tyler, I'm more of a moon cycle guy. Okay. Okay. It's pretty funny. Easy engagement. Let's look at stuff like the 3-day. I haven't looked at the 3-day in a minute. Same kind of deal. It's not a break yet. Like there's a clear downtrend that's it's kind of there. It's like so close. Close the candle up more at this kind of midline. Now we're talking. Right? Because you can imagine a big green candle up to here is something completely different. This is still kind of the macro view on the 3-day. Let's look at some moving averages on the 3-day. Actually, let's start on the daily. Moving averages on the daily. Let's see where we're at. So the 50, there's been a cross of the 20 and 50. Has this happened in the past? No, it came close before. Didn't actually cross. Here it has crossed. It's trying to cross back. It can't seem to get it done. Prior to this, hold on. So here we are. No cross. Got that kind of move. The last time it actually crossed and crossed to the downside. And then once it recrossed, it was like good times ahead. And I suspect this, whatever the future holds, would be no different. Found support on the 100-ish. That looks like a, I don't know, 100. So this is 200, that's 100. So this has got to be like the 150 EMA, right? I'm going to make the 200. I'm going to make the 200 a 150. Let's see if it lines up. Yeah, ish. Maybe 140. Chat, I got a really important question. This is very important. Hold on. We got to pause charts just to ask. Are you guys Team Drake or Team Kendrick? Where are we falling on this? How are we lining up? Kendrick? Oh, across the board, Kendrick. I'm late to the drama, so I am not informed. I heard the like 4th diss track or something. I was like, bro, what is going on? Team Drake? Team Kendrick, or you like men? Sir, it's 2024, and that is actually the norm now. That is the majority in the US, I think. K-Dot, Drake's getting cooked. The last thing I heard was like K-Dot, he talked about Drake's daughter being on pills and stuff like that, and it was bait apparently, because like Drake sent through some intermediary, he sent like a fake photo with fake stuff to bait K-Dot into using that as material, and it didn't line up. It was like it was all BS. Which I was like, dude, if Drake really did that, like if that's, I don't know if that's real or not, but if that's real, dude, that's pretty high level. That's pretty high level, dude. Flux, I'm out. I feel old. I'm out of the loop. The pedo allegations. Dude, I like I said, man, I don't know. I have no meat in this game. I like how I know J. Cole was involved, and then he's like, hey, I'm out. And now K-Dot, it's just K-Dot and Drake. And like Rick Ross got involved. He caught a stray bullet or something at one point. Drake let him know. I feel like several of these artists are catching strays out there. They're getting brought up in the song. They're like having breakfast and they just see their name brought up on Google or something. Like, what? Drake threw in the towel. I wonder if he is. I wonder if Drake's done. But if he baited K-Dot, if the bait thing is real, no shot he's done. And he's going to come back and like really rub it in. It's their way of DM. Yeah, you just make a whole 3-minute song back and forth. They're good songs, right? Like they're catchy. I heard some of them. I was like, dude, these are, and apparently they're just firing them out, right? It's like, didn't K-Dot have a song that was like, took him 10 minutes to release or something? Like Drake made us release something and then 10 minutes later K-Dot already had it ready. I don't know, crazy. Y'all crazy? Drake dropped and he ain't done. It's Howard. What's up, man? I think Drake's got more. I don't think he is done yet. I think we're just getting going. When Jack diss track? I'll drop one when price is in the 30s. How about that? Over the BBL Drizzy track? Okay, you got it. You got it. More confusion in the market. Let's look at BITI, B-I-T-I, which is the inverse Bitcoin ETF. Jack versus Willy Woo. There you go. Bear Jack on the track? Dude, that's the lead in. Okay. Let's go back in time. This is inverse Bitcoin. You telling me that's not the most bullish thing you've ever seen in your life? You see something like this? Okay, fast forward to today. Here we are. We're, I guess, back in the range thing? Or is this some sort of ascending channel? Because if the playbook is you leave, you break, you come back, and then you bet on it going down, you already liquidated. You lost that trade. By price at the midline, you think it's going to keep going. You're not closing that trade out. And now your stops are run or liquidated or whatever. So is it more of the same? Is this? Or is it actually going to do it? This is where the confusion continues to mount. I don't know. This is why this market is so confusing. It's not as simple as like, oh, you have a range and it does the thing. I swear to you, there's more going on than that. There's a lot of things happening at once that say this is weird. Pay attention because this is weird. Meanwhile, FBTC breaking down from its bearish rising wedge. Absolutely headed down to these lows. No doubt in my mind. Question is then what? Is this some sort of larger bottom being formed? Or does it go on to the targets we talked about? So are you going to like margin long Bitcoin while FBTC is breaking down? Are you going to margin long your altcoin while FBTC is breaking down? I don't know. It's a much different environment. Stuff like Sol looks like the best thing that's out there. But it's not good enough to be like, oh yeah, I don't care if Bitcoin's going down, this is going to giga send it. Downtrend break. Ape ran to the lows, consolidating at the lows. Link ran the low. Remember the playbook we talked about? That would be the most bullish thing for Link maxis. It's kind of done it. I think you could argue we're like a one-day candle into a breakout. So is that a clue that Bitcoin's going to do the same thing? You must decide, young man. XRP? Ripple maxis? Nice little breakout. Again, add this to the confusion. Nice breakout. Last time we had a nice breakout was on increased volume. Trash volume. Maybe it's yet to come. Maybe there's like a little shakeout and then the volume comes in. LTC in, we nailed that. This is the Grayscale Lightning. Grayscale Litecoin. Oh! Oh. Hold on, chat. Hold on, chat. All right. Chat, we got lunch. Hold on. Let me show you what lunch today. Dude, I kind of like their nuggets. I'm not gonna lie. I prefer their nuggets to the to their sandwiches or their hamburgers or whatever. Oh, chat. You know what's coming today? Not today, but this week. I know the website, coinvigilante.com. Dude, this. Check it out. Hold on, let me get my fat face out of the way here. Dude, Coin Vigilante coming in hard with the... I'm trying to zoom out so you can see like more of the little background photo. It doesn't seem to be working. This guy. This guy. That. Yes. My boy hooked me up. And I will shill him endlessly for this because I love this kind of stuff. I don't care if you think it looks like a... whatever, some other fancy watch, like it's trying to be that or something. I don't care. I don't care what you think about it. I like it. Go screw yourself. On the back, there's a number. And our boy Carlos sent me a little message. He said, hey, it's shipped out to you. And I picked you out a special number. That's what he said. He said, I picked you out a special number. So you know I'm excited. You know I'm excited, bro. While I'm eating, chat, let's go over a few things. 100% he's getting 69, bro. Give me, yeah, 69, 420. 42 or 69? It's about to be a Sonic lunch ASMR stream. All right, couple things. Pretty crazy. In case you can't see this, let me zoom in. Capo has called bottom. Crypto Capo, nice bounce form the support zone. Low time frame looks good for bullish continuation, and a flip of the 3300 would be another bullish confirmation, potentially a new all-time high. Capo is telling you the bottom's in and all-time high is next. ETH BTC pair looks really good. I think ETH and altcoins outperform Bitcoin over the next few days. All right, so, you know, just take that for what it's worth. That's, you know, presented without comment. This is one of those presented without comment moments. And if you're trading alongside in the same direction as Capo, then you know, good luck. I hope it works out. That's all I'll say. Tried playing Gray Zone Warfare, loved it, so I got TK 3 times and had all my gear taken. Bro, the same thing happened to me. 100%, the same thing happened to me. I went to this really cool spot. Some guys followed me out there. And then I like cleared the whole area and they rolled up behind me and accidentally killed me. I went back and killed them. This is funny. This is true. I went back and killed them. They killed me. I killed them. Like we're doing this back and forth thing. And I'm throwing every kid I have at it. And then all the AI respawns. And we both, like that group and me, we lost all our kits. We lost it all. I refunded it. I was so pissed. Dude, that's funny. I wasn't that pissed. I thought it was kind of funny. All right, moving on. Gold has a breakout. We talked about that. Hold on, I'm going to keep that so I can keep the price sticker up top. Had a little crawfish yesterday. Anybody a crawfish fan? Have you seen this fantasy top stuff? No? What are you talking about, Easton? Fill me in, bro. I don't know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah. I know you. I was waiting for somebody to comment on the handle. You kind of... That was like the funniest part of the picture to me. You know how we do in Texas. Texas. Turned out pretty good. Not bad. It's not my Stanley, by the way. Or my White Claw. Don't judge me. Oh, yeah, this was funny. Greed fired off, what was that, yesterday? 2 days ago. We're back in Greed. Kind of funny. Funny time to see Greed popping back up. I think that was kind of... Oh, this was the bouncing ball thing with Bruce Frazier. I don't want to go through it all right here, but I'll link it in chat if you want to read the tweet. It's a good tweet because it's good because this part is good, right? Not you don't have to read anything I said if you don't want to, but this part is good, and this comes from Bruce Frazier's blog, where he covers this kind of stuff, which I think is very useful, very pertinent to where we are today. Josh, shout out to Josh. He has several, he does a lot of good content. I sound like I'm glazing Josh every time I stream, but you know, he puts out like consistent daily stuff, and it's stuff I don't look at. So I enjoy watching. I'll watch it on like 2x speed, and I kind of sit off and have it running while I'm doing other stuff. I'm just kind of like listening to it, absorbing it. But it's very interesting.
Per usual, having a unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out in the bull trend.
What was he?
So
Hold on.
We'll call it a 2x-ish left in this move.
This kind of stuff.
It'll probably be something between
Stop it.
a 2x and 300k plus. We'll see, right? If things get crazy on the liquidity side, if things that may be back on the menu over the next, the cloud is not satisfied with this on the daily. 200-day down here, also a target, right? If this recover clearer.
Anyway, so he goes on to say a lot of the same things we've covered today, that like it's a good start. The stuff we've seen is a good start. It ain't over yet. Josh uses a lot of big words for 2x speed. He's a smart guy. He is a smart guy. Yeah, I like his humor too. Fantasy Top, it's an interesting card game based around CT personalities, basically an influencer NFT card game. They run like tournaments where you build your deck of favorite influencers and stuff. I mean, I'm sure that's fun for some people, but I feel like maybe that's the generation behind me or something. I've never gotten into just loving CT personalities and just like caught up in the lore and stuff. It's just not my jam, man. I'm gonna stay in my lane and do my own thing, and CT personality stuff, I understand it. And I learned to not like it. I learned to really dislike it, especially around like tops and bottoms, because they're as a group, it's the worst. They're all telling you the same thing effectively, because we're all kind of like community beings. So it's weird it's this weird dichotomy where if you hear the crowd saying one thing, like a crowd of influencers are like, oh, we're only halfway there. We've got another 2x ahead of us. And in your head, you've got to know like, oh, the community thinks this, it's probably the opposite. That's a weird thing. So I don't know, whatever. Do you ever get into ordinals? No. I love Greg. There's no way that's the actual number. Greg. Dude, I was going to be so impressed if you actually got that number right. Yeah, Greg makes me laugh. I like his stuff. Why do I think this was the Sesame Street guy? It's pretty funny. Yeah, Greg's good, man. He's funny. He's a good one. No, dude, I did not get into ordinals at all. I got into what's the AVAX? Oh, what was that called? I got into that a little bit with Kaleo. That social media network thing. But I'm just not on it. I'm not on anything enough to really use it. I can't remember what it's called though. The arena, right? Isn't that what it is? Traditional markets. Let's kind of like look around. Let's look around. Let's see what we got. So gold, we talked about. There's potentially the start of a breakout of a nice bull wedge. I mean, verdict's not out, as seems to be the case across the board. Same with silver. A lot of my Bitcoin longs went into gold and silver. Like when these breakouts first started, and silver too. Silver really hasn't done a whole lot, so I've kind of just been waiting. S&P, it's interesting to me, but to me, it doesn't look like what a bottom usually looks like. It just looks like some sort of channel thing. So when I see a big impulsive move down, and then that, I've got to wonder, is this some sort of weird like bear flag? Because we didn't come back. We haven't retested lows. We spent hardly any time at the lows at all. This looks like just some sort of algorithmic tick, 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 straight up only kind of thing. I don't know. So time will tell. I think the tippy top of this thing, if you're betting on the upside, I would cut any sort of long exposure up at this 524. Maybe some sort of blow off before a visit back to the lows. Maybe we're just we're at the start of a range and we're just going to form around this range for a hot minute. I think that's totally reasonable. Sure. But I really don't have a big edge here. I liked on the low time frame, I liked this inverted head and shoulders. I didn't like that it came back down, so that like this muddied all the waters up. So the setup that was there kind of got screwed up, and now it just feels like a big chop fest, and I don't have a great read. Coin broke out again, another thing that has broken below its lows again, and here it sits consolidating right at a potential resistance, or arguably like right above it. Just hard to tell, right? Depending on where you have the line, you wiggle your lines. So I think it's a wait and see kind of deal. This is a good start if price can come back up and consolidate up here, right, and get above any sort of horizontal resistance. I think that's a great signal that, hey, this is probably a good long opportunity. And at the same time, if you start seeing that kind of stuff with what Bitcoin's doing, it's maybe Bitcoin bottom is in, I think this stuff will all be correlated. Do you think the S&P is correlated with Bitcoin? To a degree, but not tied at the hip. I do think, just like we were watching for, like we were being cautious with how Bitcoin was performing up at these highs, right? And how it couldn't break out. I think it was also a good time to start being cautious with traditional market stuff in the S&P. So we've not yet broken back up. We've not yet gone back into this bullish channel thing or anything like this. So it has proven to be correlated to a degree. So what it does from here to the next 3 months, I'm not really sure, dude. Are you jealous of my PayPal bags? Dude, what is PayPal? I didn't even look. Okay. I mean, it's a good breakout. Come on, do something. Rising wedges always make me nervous. It makes me feel like there's some sort of retest coming. Whenever I see like kind of a real slow breakout, that's a rising wedge sort of thing, I almost always tend to see something like that. And then it goes on. And then, from the macro, it actually goes on to enhance what's actually there. But it's a good start, sure. I give you that all day. That you have a breakout. Let's see what happens from there. So quad U has rallied off the lows. I actually added in my longs down here. I was proud of myself. I was very scared. I added my longs down here. So we'll see what happens with Quad U. This is the macro picture I have for Quad U. You know what? I bet this is what's going on. Yeah. 50% trade range for MSTR. That's crazy. Imagine. Look how well the midline's being respected too. I think that's exactly what's happening here. It's interesting. Imagine this pulling back to, you know, this level and then breaking up, consolidating, and going back to the highs. Bitcoin doing the same thing. All these other correlated assets doing the same thing. I think that could be very interesting. Is a bull flag valid for Ethereum? I have not even considered that. Let's look. On the 4 hour. There's this thing. Hey, random thought. I know this is super random. It just popped in my head. Is anybody in here like an anime buff? Does anybody like anime? I need a show of hands. If you're an anime guy, I got a question. All right, crickets. Literally nobody. I'm around it enough. My wife loves it. Dude, that's funny. Solo leveling. Do we know when season 2's coming out? Somebody turned me on to that, and I'm digging it. I like it. Delta with the thumbs down. First time chat. Bro gives anime a thumb down. This is interesting. Okay, nerd, we lift way. Okay, all right, bro. Come on. Come on. Come on, man. We only watch Dragon Ball Z around here? Okay, all right. Do you recommend it? I enjoyed it. I liked solo leveling. I thought it was interesting. I think there's more going on than meets the eye. That's why I kind of like it. Like so I've seen what is it the one that I really liked from a long time ago? It's where they all get like this new VR headset. This is like the world. It's like released into the world. Everybody gets it kind of at once. It's like a pre-order thing. Select 1,000 people get it, and then they get stuck. And like if they try to take it off, it'll kill them. And so they have to play through the whole game or they die. And if they die in the game, they die in real life. That kind of thing. I forgot what that one was called, but I really liked that. I really enjoyed that whole concept. I thought that was cool. And so solo leveling reminded me a lot of that. Sword Art. Yeah, that's what it was. Sword Art Online. I enjoyed the hell out of that. I thought that was great. Yeah, that was good. You ever done TA on tether dominance? It's interesting. I've tried to, but it hasn't been actionable consistently. There's moments where you're like, oh, there's something here, and then it actually goes on to play out. But if you do that time and time again, like I've been around since 2018, 2019 doing TA stuff. I've been around Bitcoin longer than that, and made all kinds of mistakes and stuff. It's another story for another time. But I have not seen tether dominance consistently used as an actionable signal. Attack on Titan, dude, One Punch Man. I love One Punch Man. I think that show is so funny. If I'm just sitting around, I have nothing to do, and I have like 20 minutes, that's what I put on. Dude, my wife hates anime. She thinks it's the dumbest thing ever. And every now and then, I'll beat her in a game, and so I get to choose what we do next, kind of thing. Like we just play around like that, and I'll be like, "We're watching One Punch Man." She's like, "Oh my god." Pretty funny. So the question is this a bull flag? Well, first off, bull flags are channels. So a bull flag would have to satisfy this parallel channel tool, which we can't do, right? You see how there's like these series of lower highs like that. So a bull pennant would be the technical term. Like if you wanted to Google, and I'm being specific like that for your own benefit. It's not just to be a douchebag, but if you wanted to Google more information about whatever the thing is, a bull pennant is what you would be Googling about, not a bull flag. So anyway, the bull pennant is okay, but what muddies the water is all this stuff leading into it. So perhaps you say, well, okay, it's really just that, this is the move, and then this is well, it's gone on too long. So there's sort of this like unspoken rule that if there's a particular amount of time that goes into something, you would expect something like that or less for the consolidation before the next leg up. And we're actually well past it, right? Like this was 36 days, and here we are 55 days. So I don't necessarily think that this is great. I think there's something else. It's just my suspicion. Maybe I'll be proven wrong, and you guys can all laugh at me. But that's why I think it makes a lot more sense that this is some sort of veiled distribution. Because if I put it in that context, and we view it like in a series of horizontals with an up thrust, with a run of the lows, with a LPSY, with a break below the range, with several attempts to break back into the range, eventually you would expect a cascade down below. And when I view it in that lens, that seems to make more sense based on the price action, because not only are the horizontals all respected, but there's like lots of diagonals that seem to be clear key decision points the market has not been able to get back over. So I think it's more of a distribution than everyone wants to hear bull thing, right? Like no one wants to think the music's about to stop and there's going to be a big pull. Nobody wants to talk about that, right? This is why I'm kind of tend to be in an island with maybe a couple other people whenever things look bad, because I'll tell you it looks bad because I don't rely on sponsorships and whatever. I'll just tell it like it is. And because of that, I can tell you, I think this looks more distributionary than bullish. I see lots of attempted breakouts that lead to new leg downs. You see like this? That sucks. That's hard to trade. It kills anybody who was going to buy any future breakouts will not now, because they're going to sit on the sideline after that. And so now there's just this sort of, okay, well now we'll break out from a horizontal. Haha. Nope, psych. So I don't like, on the low time frame, I don't like the market structure. On the higher time frame, I think it makes more sense that this is some sort of distributionary event with lots of LPSYs all the way down. So I don't know, my 2 cents. Hate me. Awesome analysis. Thank you. Yeah, you bet, dude. Could you look at RNDR? Dude, so many people have asked me about that. What's the deal with this? Why is this so like exciting to people? RNDR. Okay, well, first things first, that horizontal's interesting. The market has told you it's interesting. Nothing to do with me. Market has told you this is interesting. We've broken back above it, but is not broken above this level. So it's in this chop zone. At the same time, this level is proven to be interesting because there's a couple wicks kind of down here, and then, that used as support. Actually, you know what? Let's do it like that. So there's a sort of zone that the market's telling you, hey, this is pretty interesting. Crazy downtrend, double tap of the bottom. I think bigger picture, this is a good start. Consolidate here, maybe break up, consolidate here, and then I'd say like new all-time high. It's not a bad start at all, but it's too early. This kind of stuff can easily come all the way back down. Here's the worst thing you could see. Watch this. This is what a lot of people, they're just never ready for it. You have a high, you have a market high, market low, market high, market high, market low, market high, market low, market high, market low. Big blow off moment. Back into the range, back down, back down. So if you're long, like say you turbo longed this diagonal breakout and you're up, 30% or whatever the percentage is, you're up a good amount. I would be very careful about giving it all back because there's a scenario where you give every bit of it back. If it closes back below the range and then runs back to the lows and then some, right? That's where people get absolutely obliterated, especially on margin. So if you find if price comes back below this, pick a number. Maybe it's that. Maybe it's this 920. You can be conservative if you want. For me, I like this almost 950 level because of how the market rolled over a couple times right here. But whatever, pick your spot and then say that's my line in the sand. If we fall below that, I'm closing. I will recognize profit because moves can be hard and fast like that, and then go. This is if you're curious what like the pattern itself is called, redistribution. So look out for redistribution. It links with Apple. It's somehow AI related, AI, GPU, NVIDIA, etc. Okay. Jack, just following from the bull flag idea you tweeted about a few days ago as an opposing view to redistribution. Yeah, fair enough. You guys battle test my ideas. You don't have to just like fawn over things I say because I say them. Like push back on me. Tell me I'm wrong. That's why we're here. This is about like all of us getting this, like getting it right. It's not about street cred and ego. Because even if I'm wrong about an analysis, I want you guys to help me see that so I can make a better trade. That's the beauty of doing this stuff live. Ape is in an interesting position. I wanted to point this out too. Okay. So big picture for Ape. It's clearly at the lows. There's an argument to be made for a range being formed, and it's run the range lows. Here's your bull argument. Bottoms in, consolidate, send it. This is Wyckoff accumulation, and things are only going to get great from here. This is like the bull scenario A. This is great. Here's bear scenario. Bear scenario is we're not even in accumulation yet. Bear scenario is we just had this big sell-off. We sat here for almost a month, and all you've got is a high and a lower high, and potentially a lower high, and eventually falling through. This would be like the bouncing ball scenario, right? We talked about. We're falling through. And the actual accumulation-y bottom, pico bottom, is actually somewhere down here. I don't know. Another scenario that's bullish and scary at the same time. Scary yet bullish. Which this is my personal favorite. Imagine, boop, 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 plays out. That's your bottom. It's a spring. Psych. I know we got a bunch of new folks in chat, so let me show you what a spring is and why it's so interesting. The market will do this sort of make a trade range, run the lows, come back. And it'll look something like this. And the spring tends to be the pico bottom in hindsight. Now, we know about this because not only has it happened for Bitcoin back in Bitcoin's early days, early years. Trade range form, run the lows, come up, consolidate in a sign of strength. Not only has this happened for stuff like this, but this is back in 2015 to 2016. This was the pico bottom at like $200, goes on to 20,000, right? This is a big deal. But we also see it in other assets too. So we know to look for this, not just in Bitcoin, but at other places. This was when I very first started streaming. This is when Ethereum was in its sign of strength up here. And understanding Wyckoff was what helped us know that 300 was kind of the bottom at the time. Because during this sell-off, it was really scary. It went from 500 to 300. There's a lot of people screaming like, "Oh no, we're heading back down here." But if you understood Wyckoff, if you understood that, hey, we've been in this range for 2 years. This is 2 years of being accumulated. The biggest guys in the room buying as much as they could. The sign of strength is just like a final shakeout before the uptrend. Then we all did really well. Like this was a good trend from 300 to 5,000. I'll take it. That's what we want. So we know to look for that kind of stuff, even if it's in other assets, even if it's not in Bitcoin or whatever. So all that being said, I am going to keep my ear to the ground for other stuff. And I think Ape doing something like that would be very interesting. I think that would be a nice final flush. Obviously, we can't predict, like, we don't even know if this was the spring, right? If the bottom's actually in, it's going to do something like that. It's very hard to know once you're back in the range, kind of like we are. Like this is in the range. Down here is outside of the range. Up here is out of the range. That's why my favorite things to trade are a very clear and obvious breakdown and a retest and a reclaim. So basically like buying that part, or buying the sign of strength. I'm perfectly fine with missing $1 to $2. Oh no, I missed a $1 trade. If it goes from 2 to 20, you know what I mean? Like I'm totally fine with that. So if I'm a late buyer, so be it. I want to have a lot of confidence in what's happening, because what I want to sidestep is, oh, look, accumulation's actually just now starting at 50 cents or something. So a lot of people will buy the spring and it ends up just being a stair step down to new lows. So that's why I like to see a big sell-off and a reclaim, and I'll try to buy in this or as close to that as I can. Isn't Quadu in a flag that might break down? Yeah, absolutely it is. And you should be watching for that. You absolutely should be watching for that. So this flag, though, what I'm hopeful for as somebody who is long Quadu is that this flag is a massive sign of strength. And so this is the last consolidation before the next leg up. And remember, this asset was as high as $270 at one point and as low as 70 cents. So and here we are at $5. It is not crazy to think that this is consolidation before some sort of, leg up. Yeah, like time frame wise, it all kind of lines up. This is a long time to accumulate with the spring and all that stuff. You're saying low time frame, like on the 1 hour? Oh, I don't even look at this stuff on the 1 hour. Ran the low. Ran that level. I don't know. It's not terrible on the low time frame. It just looks like it's doing this again. It seems like it like rotates. It's either doing that or it's doing that. I don't know, but it's so choppy. I'm not even beginning to try to make sense of the low time frame. All I know is to kind of keep my eye on the high time frame stuff. DNN. I have not even heard that. Let's check it out. DNN is a better mining. Oh yeah, I mean same thing. Look at as sign of strengths go. Look at that. Yeah, that's great. I got no problem with that. That's a great look. That's all you can. That's all you can hope for, guys. It's a chart like that. Ugh. My kid's college also hopes for it. How's LimeWire looking? Oh, dude, who was in here that was like, somebody here did the LimeWire day one purchase. No, it's not that, is it? Isn't it a traditional stock, or am I crazy? Oh, it is a crypto. Okay. Oh, wow. Look at that round trip. Holy crap. You did a pre-sale? So it launched at like 85 cents or something. It got as low as 6 cents. Am I looking at the right thing, guys? I feel like I'm not looking at the right thing. And then today it sits at $1, basically. It went as high as $1.80. So it's about 50. You know, it's funny. You see a chart like this and you're like, oh, just pulled back a little. That's a 50% retrace from, you know, high to low. Pre-sales always dump after. Oh yeah, 100%, dude. That's like a water's wet kind of thing. Absolutely. Doge also looking kind of interesting right here. Is it a big, massive head and shoulders looking thing? Is it a range that it's just playing around? It runs the highs and it runs the lows. And so, you know, you would expect it to come back up here. Is it some sort of inverted head and shoulders? It's going to do something like that. Up to you, because I don't know. ENA. Okay. Hey, that's a good start. That's a good start. I got no beef with that at all. So pretty clear downtrend. You could use a diagonal or whatever. Interesting. So the downtrend break is good. The downtrend break after an SFP to the downside, a swing failure pattern to the downside, is like bonus. So that's check, and that's like check. I would expect this to, you know, cool off a little bit and then maybe continue, and expect that to go something like this. An easy target to the upside is the start of this whole downtrend. So I always like targeting the start of downtrends. It's like right at $1. So a $1 move is a good start. And then probably all-time high as a second. But what sucks is if things like Bitcoin break down, stuff like this will almost always do either that, or, you know, you get that first leg up and then it's that. And in hindsight, you're like, oh, dang it. That was actually redistribution. I didn't even know it. So keep your eye on like whatever Bitcoin's doing. That's all I would say. Keep an eye on Bitcoin, watch what it's doing. But these are two good starts. SFP, downtrend break. Good start. Prime. Oh, we Pico got it. We haven't looked at this in a minute. So it fell from $28 as low as $13. 52% pullback. Bottoms don't usually look like this. They might start. It may be the beginning of the bottom may look like that, but usually there's two touches of a bottom. That's why, you know, even Wyckoff, whenever you look at this stuff, there's like 2 or 3 touches of these lows. The best case is there's a low, there's a lower low, there's an even lower low at a spring, right? All that stuff is really useful. But a simple, like a V recovery, they call it, is very rare for this to be the bottom. So keeping that in mind, what I would look for is, how does this get back to the lows? That's kind of like my mindset. So there's this sort of rising wedge. Perhaps this breaks down and finds its way to the lows. If the lows hold a second time, you could probably start talking about a bottom, some sort of like macro Pico bottom. If they do not, then there's plenty more levels where that came from. Lots more levels down here. So it's a good start. I mean, there is this parabolic break for sure. Like I'm not saying that doesn't exist. That is there. It fell 50%. There's lots of reasons to say like, hey, maybe we're close to a bottom here. I'm not arguing that. But all I'm saying is a V bottom is very rare. Probably look to stack other things in your favor there, like a retest of the lows, something like that. What's that one called that's like the most hated coin? Slurf. You see how at a certain point it looks like up only. You understand what I'm talking about? Like this goes back to that last chart we looked at. If you go back in time and you look at like this kind of chart, Well, hey, Jack, we're back in the trade range. Hey, we broke a downtrend. Like everything is gravy. Here we go. But if there just was more going on than you could know at the time, and if you just gave it a little moment to breathe, all of a sudden you realize, okay, this level clearly doesn't matter all that much as I thought. And more worrisome, there's a sort of bear flag here. So perhaps this is just a pit stop. So I think Slurf could either be coming down for a new low, or there's another Wyckoff event at play here. And perhaps that would look something like this, which I would be totally fine with. Remember, even Litecoin is heavily hinting that it wants to go down to these range lows. And just imagine from on the Wyckoff side of things, how that would look. Big scary sell-off, come back, consolidate, off we go. Are you kidding me? That would be one of the best, and this is Litecoin, you know, this would be one of the best looking charts ever. After breaking this parabolic uptrend, big break, and here it's just sat consolidating. I don't know. Time will tell. Litecoin is a stable coin. Dude, it might as well be. Might as well be. All right, chat. All right. What else you got? Because otherwise, I think I'm going to call it there, boys and girls. I think we will call it there. Ooh. Keep your eye on Bitcoin. What's she doing? What is she up to? She's tricky. She's a tricky one. Final thoughts, too long didn't read on Bitcoin is, I think we're a retest of this zone is due. And question is, what happens then? Nihal asking about, what is that? SILJ. Am I looking at this right? It's either, you know, at resistance or just barely breaking out. It's kind of too early to tell. But yeah, we went over that a little bit earlier. Thanks for the TA, you bet, dude. ARB. I'm assuming that's the crypto ARB. This reminds me a lot of Ape. Big sell-off, a high, a lower high, a lower high, a lower high. I really think this is just headed either back to these lows or lower lows. This is not what a bullish recovery looks like. Not yet. A bullish recovery would look something like this, though. Right? Now you got something to lean on. Run the lows, consolidate, off you go. But this, no. This is garbage. She's a sneaky snake. Exactly, dude. Exactly. Oh, FET? F-E-T. Ooh, tricky. And this is not great. Okay, this is just using, this is the best I got kind of thing. There's a sort of consolidation going on. There's several downtrends breaking, but there seems to be this one like a hidden one nested all the way through this price action. So I'd keep an eye on that. In a bubble, this isn't terrible. Right here. That's not very bad. I don't hate that. But it just seems like it's rolling over at this support, resistance line, which kind of leans more toward this more macro downtrend. So I don't know. That's not something I would punt along on. You didn't vote. Tell us your opinion on the next 30 days. All right. All right, here's what I think. Here's what I think's going to happen. We'll see. See if it does. I think the real sign of what's going on came back in here and in here. I think there was lots of signs of people leaving the system back in there. I think what we are getting right now is a sort of quick reaction. It's like market debatery. I don't think it's real. I have a suspicion this is not real. So if I had to guess, my guess is we would actually get a retest of these lows to get an inverted head and shoulder discussion going, a fake breakout, and then that to whatever level, 50. And then the market goes sideways for another 30 days, 60 days at these new levels. And that in hindsight is the bottom. That's my guess. I don't know, right? Obviously, I don't have a crystal ball. But this market, it has proven to just love, it's to squeeze every bit of juice from the bulls it can. All of that was so devastating to the bulls. And then it was the same thing again. It was when we came back into the range, it was euphoria all over again. And I don't know. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. Not yet. Not yet. We'll see. What does Miss Crypto Jack think of this market? Dude, she could care less. She's like, the kids have basketball practice and this and that and that's, but that's why I love her and that's why we're great. It's because she keeps kind of the house running and make sure everyone's where they're supposed to be, even if I'm delivering them, whatever. But at least she's got the calendar and schedules and all that. It's funny, our friends and family, they know if there's something to schedule, they call her. It ain't me. They do it from her. Anyway, chat, I love you all. Hopefully we will be able to make sense of this in the coming days, coming weeks. Oh, and I think Wednesday we're going to have a market power hour. So hang out. Be here for Wednesday. Okay. Chat, you know what we should do real quick? Don't leave. If I can talk you into not leaving, let's raid somebody. We haven't done a raid in forever. Because usually I'm like streaming and stuff like that. Whoa, my face. Let's do a quick raid. Who are we gonna raid? What do you guys? Let's go to like a low viewer. I always like doing low viewer Andes. Like I go to the main page and I do browse, and I just pick a category. Like what's a good category, guys? You want to? Creative was creative today. Somebody's doing like art. Somebody's doing body art. Do you guys want some body art? Yeah, I'm kidding. We're not doing that. We ain't doing that. What about the music category? All right, music. They changed around like how you sort and stuff. It was kind of annoying. This dude's he's on his partnerversary.
What's up, Edmundo? Thanks, Mesmo.
Let's do it. All right, here's our guy. Chat, big love to you all. We'll see you Wednesday. Follow me on Twitter if you want to know, if you want to get updates and stuff.
All right, that one's called Double Bass Fishing.
We're going to raid
I haven't played that one in a minute, but
Astrovert.
It's still a lot of fun to play.
It is his happy partner anniversary. Oh, cool. Happy partner anniversary, my dude. All right, guys. Big love to you all. We'll see you Wednesday.
Thank you, Crypto Jack.
Later.
Thank you. Celebrating 2 years as a Twitch partner. It's been a blast. It's been an interesting ride. Oh, hi. Thank you for the raid. Welcome in, friends. Well, let's get a little jam going for you.
So chill. All right. Big love, guys. See ya.